The ego authority is all about me, 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 me. So in this video, I'm going to break down the ego authority for both the projector and the manifestor. So if you are not already subscribed, please subscribe to our channel because we are going to dig in and create a lot of new content. No one is designed to make decisions in the same way. I gotta talk about this ego authority because if you notice, there's only 0.93% ego manifested, which basically means an ego authority for the manifestor, and the ego projected, which is the ego authority for a projector, is only 0.48% of the population. So contemplate this for a little bit. The reflector, which most people call the unicorn, it's a small percentage of the population. This actually is more rare. The ego authority is actually more rare. There are less people with this authority, and they really don't like not being seen or recognized, particularly the ego projectors, because it's all about them and the ego is important. And there is a distinction between a healthy ego and an unhealthy ego, and that is what ego authority is all about. So remember, the mind is never an authority. And when we're talking about the ego, it might be hard to make that distinction of what is speaking. Is it your mind or is it your willpower? Now, the willpower is not the heart. It is associated with the heart center, but the G center is the spiritual heart of human design. And so when we're talking about the willpower, it's more about an ego and how you would consider ego rather than the heart, even though sometimes it is referred to as the heart center, it's referred to as the will center, and it's referred to as the ego center. But I think if we really focus in on the willpower, that's going to help us the most, because ego has sort of a negative connotation, but willpower is what the energy of this center is all about. So let's talk about the GPS system for the ego authority. The willpower, the ego authority. These people are here to follow their will. They need to be selfish and they need to ask, what do I want? What is in it for me? So you want to pay attention to I statements. I am going to do this. I feel the power for this, and use their personal will to decide what it is, if you're a manifestor, what you want to manifest. Now, as a projector, you know that you need to be recognized first, and then you need to touch base in with that willpower and feel if it is aligned. Now, the willpower is a work to rest center. It is a motor, but it turns on and it turns off. So you might have the energy to work, and this is actually for both the projector and the manifestor. You may have the energy to work, but it comes in short bursts. So it's going to burst out, and then you may get all of your work done, and then you'll need to step back, get back within yourself, and have your downtime. So it pulses on and it pulses off, and that's a big theme, is work to rest. I want to talk a little bit about how the ego projector can be negatively forcing their will onto other people. So when you are an ego manifestor or an ego projector, you have to understand that the negative connotations around the ego center may apply to you. meaning there is an unhealthy way that the ego can show up in the world. This is when we use terms like egotistical, my way or the highway, telling people what to do. Anytime you tell people what to do, it will not work for a manifestor or a projector. So, a manifestor is here to inform, but it's not in telling people what to do. And if you're pushing your will onto people, it's super uncomfortable for other people. And aggression for the manifester, because of the anger and the will and the pushing, you can really push people in the opposite direction if you're not utilizing that ego properly. For the projector, again, projectors have to be recognized and invited. And if you're telling people what to do, you're going to definitely push people away. And I see this a lot with my ego projectors. They don't understand what it means to not tell people what to do. So even if you're a healer or you're giving advice to people, if you're a counselor and you're trying to tell them, this worked for me, so you should do A, B, and C, just that alone can throw people into a dysfunction. When the will is defined and other people have undefined will and you're pushing your definition onto them, it actually harms the other person. They take it on. They think there's something wrong with them. They think that, oh, well, if you tell me I should eat this way, then this is what I should do to be thinner, to be better, and to improve myself. And when the divine will puts that on other people, then it actually shrinks those people with the undefined will, and they have a very hard time to pick themselves up again if the divine will is pushing onto them. So, this is a distinction that's very, very important. You do not want to put your will onto other people. Even if you're a coach, even if you're a business coach, you don't want to tell them, oh, your business will do better if you do A, B, and C. You should go out and do A, B, and C. That's very different than saying, I've experimented with doing online launching and it could work, but you need to check in with your inner authority and see, is that correct for you? This is huge. Now, the willpower is so strong and it wants to tell people what to do, but it will not ever have great results by doing that. Let me show you this flow chart on how to make a decision based on an ego projector. You need to actively wait for the invitation. Once you're recognized and you have the energy to work, then you must check in with the ego and know what you want. So the ego is about, is this for me? Do I want this? And you can feel it, like it's this aura that takes you over, and the wanting and the will is so strong. I've heard ego projectors talk about this. It's just like, is this for me? I want it, I feel it. And so you're walking through and maybe even talking it out, because all egos do really well by talking it out and blowing it out and it's seeing if it represents you. Is it something that brings you joy? For projectors, it's all about the joy factors. Does it represent you? Okay, these are some of the things. And then once you decide yes or no, is it a no for now? Is it a yes for now? This is where the mind can get involved. So it's like you're like, I want to do this, but the mind's like, ooh, maybe that's not such a good idea because, you have to follow, what your parents told you, or you should make sure you stay with your job, or you should do A, B, and C. This is where the mind can sidetrack you. The will should start to get very strong. I want this. I know what I want. And it should be the direction and directing you. And then you can sense, does this make me feel bitter? Meaning you're doing something, you're not properly getting compensated. That bitterness will help guide you to actively wait for the invitation again so that you know if the next invitation's correct for you, the bitterness, or if you feel successful. And that's sort of how you can sense whether your mind got involved or not. So this flow chart is very helpful. Okay, let's talk about this in terms of the manifestor. Now, manifestors, you are here to inform. So the first question you want to ask, is this something you are driven to achieve? Driven through the ego, driven through what you want. Ego must know what it wants, know what it's driven for. And then you need to ask yourself, who will this impact? So if you're creating something, it's not about informing every single person. It's about informing those people who will be impacted or could potentially be impacted by your movement forward. When you move forward, you do want to make sure that you're getting people to assist you, to help delegate, to help create. But when you inform them, you say, this is what I plan to do. I plan to move forward with this nonprofit. I plan to move forward with this podcast. And you tell people about it who are potentially people that could be on your board or could be someone you interview. And then once you inform them, that's when they're usually like, "Ooh, this is very exciting. I want to be a part of this." And when they line up to help you, that's when the red carpet should roll out for the manifester. But you need to make sure you're moving in alignment with the peace. So if you're feeling anxious, and the ego is where anxiety can really live, because it's this will, this push. And so if there's an anxiety around it, I got to do this and I got to push this, that could be the mind getting involved and not showing you the peaceful action. Peace is something you have to cultivate in your body, and the movement forward should align. And so I hope this was helpful for you. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel. We're going to have a lot more videos coming out, and we're going to go through everything step by step, all of the many inner authorities, the type, and the gates, and the channels, and all the other aspects of human design. I love Dream Rave, Rave Cosmology, the four radical transformations. All the info is coming. So this is the place you want to be. I am honored to guide you through the human design journey, and I will see you in the next